folks, and welcome back to another tutorial. This time it's the pink tag. Now depending on how you like your tag flies, you can go back to see my red tag video if you like a slightly bulkier body and tie a pink tag the same way I tied the red tag, or any other colour tag for that matter. But in this video I'm going to show you a slightly slimmer varnished body fly that's a little more subtle, much better for the smaller sizes, and brilliant for that fast sink that we're all looking for nowadays as nymph anglers with smaller flies. So in the vise I've got a size 16 jig hook and a 3mm silver bead. I think it's universally agreed that when it comes to pink tags, it's got to be a silver bead. So from here I've just got the trusty 12V nano silk, and I'm just going to take that onto the hook and secure it in place like so. Work the way back up to the bead, and I like to just push the bead forward in my fingers, whack a ton of wraps down just until that bead stops moving, like so. So it's nice and secure, like so. He says it's still moving. Just to secure that in place, there you are. Now it's not moving, and it also starts to taper off to the body. So two birds with one stone there. Nice touching turns back down, and I'm just going to stop where a barb would be if it were a barbed hook. As for the tag material, I like a nice hot pink. You can use fluoro bright, glow bright as most people know it as, but it's a floss, coloured floss. I took it straight off the spool here. And annoyingly, I normally double it again, but I found in this size and smaller sizes, 3 strands is just the right amount for me. Some people like a nice bulky tag, some people like a really subtle one. I like to be somewhere in between with the 3 strands here. So I'm going to offer that up to the hook, and I'm going to make sure I'm securing it on top of the hook as we go along, for a few reasons. One, the tag sits nicely when you trim it after at the end, but two, as we come up here to tag the other end off, we can get the cut end to sit into the slot of the bead, so if there's any excess after you've trimmed it off, it's all hidden. As you'll see, there you are, disappeared into the bead. And from here I'm going to come all the way back down, just a few wraps shy of the end, and I like to cut the tag at this point. Some people prefer to leave it to the end, but that's just me. What I do get annoyed by, going to trigger a lot of anglers here, is long tags. It's a tag, not a tail. Some people, you know, we're over here with a length. For me, I like to come off the back of the hook tiny little bit more and snip. It's that nice little hot spot of colour that doesn't add too much volume to the fly. Now for the body, I'm going to come in with this synthetic material. It's a quill sub by Semperfly. It's extra small in the green peacock, and look at that for a material. It's got absolutely no weight to it. It's super durable, and look at the shine that adds. Really big fan of this stuff. Put it onto a bobbin holder just to make life easier, and I'm just going to secure that down like so onto the fly, making sure that this last wrap comes down right to where the tag begins, and I'll work my way back up. I like to keep that extra material there just to help taper the body up as we go. Just trim that off now, like so. The awkward part here is, I don't know whether you can see it, but there's actually multiple fibres that make up this material, including 2 really fine filaments that love to break on the point of the hook. So I'm going to be extra careful and extra steady as I wind this up. It doesn't matter if you overlap, but I'm trying my best here to do touching turns all the way up and cover that black thread. If some of it shows, it's not the end of the world. If you overlap some wraps, it's not the end of the world either. I'm just going to work that up here, right the way up to the head of the fly. Like so. Once I'm here, throw that over the top, and that secures that in place. Ready for me to turn this to the side. That way the thread hangs down and out of the way of me cutting this, because we all love it when the bobbin falls to the desk. I'm going to trim that off. Come in with this thread, tidy that up, and lesson learnt multiple times here when I forget to do this, ever so quickly throw a little whip finish into there and snip this off. Because I'm going to put resin onto this body now via a little needle. But if you leave the thread on, particularly on a rotary vise, and when you turn the vise to get the even body, what will happen is, as that thread sort of rolls around the hook, it does a lovely job of pulling all the resin off before it sets, and it makes an absolute horrid mess of your fly. So I'm just going to come in there, nice thin layer of resin, nothing too crazy. Don't want to add any unnecessary bulk, I just want to coat that material. Of course, if you're really brave, you don't have to use resin at all. But this just gives a nice glossy look to it and adds a little bit more durability. So once you're happy, which I am just there, quite happy with that, I'm going to come in and give that a blast with the UV torch. From this point now, back on with the thread. Like so. And then all we're going to do is come in with some dubbing, which I've left at the other side of the room typically. So I'm going to fly over there to grab some dubbing. Thankfully it's on the top. But I like a nice synthetic dubbing here, something with a little bit more shine, just to add with that body. It's the Ice Peacock Green dubbing by Semperfly. This is in the steelhead pack. And I'm just going to come in with some wax. Dab a bit on the thread first. To start with, I'm going to break up those fibres because they can be a bit long for these little flies. I'm just going to come in with a tiny little bit first, like so, before I add in the CDC collar. This little initial bit of dubbing just means that when the CDC hackle is wound, it doesn't completely collapse. There's a little bit of resistance from that dubbing to keep it open, and that'll give you a little bit more movement in the fly. So I'll split the feather here, tying it from the tip, but I've selected the length of fibre, as you can see, that I want to start with. I don't want all these short ones here, so I've selected those. That's why I do prefer tying it this way. I've got so much control over how the fly looks in the finish. So just snip that off, hackle pliers on, and you really don't need many. Just going to brush those fibres back. Literally one turn. 3 wraps on over the top. A quick pull just to make sure it's all secure. Snip that off. And then same process as before. A little bit wax on the thread. Get rid of any stray fibres in a second. A little bit more of that eye stub in the peacock green. Break up the fibres. It's absolutely not meant to dub on because I've got a little bit of resin on my fingers. When you know, you know. And I'm going to make a nice tight noodle. I don't want to go too loose here. I don't want to go too crazy with the dubbing here. Just a little bit at the front. Just to set off the, just to finish the fly without adding too much bulk. That's the key. One more wrap. Come through there. Pull off the excess. And we're on the home straight. You could do a straight whip finish here, no problem at all. But what I like to do, top a little bit of varnish on the thread as always, especially with this nano silk. It's a slippery thread, and that way just prevents any unraveling possibilities. Couple turns of the whip finish tool and we're done. It's a lovely pattern. You can do it without the CDC collar, but it's just that little shine to the body. It's a little bit tighter this way. It's a little bit slimmer. It sinks quicker, but the CDC still gives it all the movement of a hackled fly as well. So give this one a try, get some in your box, and I'll guarantee you it will catch you grayling and trout. Thanks for watching, folks. Bye for now.